Hello everyone and welcome to DokusCore. My name is Dokus and we're going to discuss update 0.6.1. It has been some time that we have created a update video for DokusCore on YouTube. Last time that we did so was on version 0.4.6. I had some limited time in the past months, and the time that I did have I wanted to spend in coding itself, because that is the main important thing that we're doing here. So it wouldn't have much use to take all the updates between version 0.4.6 and 0.6.1, because many things have been updated and made better or are cancelled in completely. I'm going to take a couple of updates with this video from the older versions that you might want to have a look at, but all the other ones I will discard. I am going to take a couple of updates from the versions in between in this video, but not all of them, because that would make a very long video. Before we start with the update video, I want to address a question that I get a lot, and that is if you can use DokusCore right now already for your live server. The answer to that is yes, you can use DokusCore already for your live server, though because we have not made all the plugins ourselves yet, it does require some work from your side. Any plugin that you would like to have in your server that is a standalone, what means that it does not require a framework to run, can already be inserted into DokusCore. It will just run without any problems. Any plugin that does require some information from a framework, you can convert that very easily depending on what plugin it is, and depending on how big the plugin is, of course. My friend and the second owner of DokusCore, Theodore, already converted around 30 plugins to DokusCore. It is quite easy to do, but you need to know how. I can show you a quick example. So going to the editor. I have taken an example from RedM RP. In this case, you have a client file and you need to do something server-sided, and the first thing that you're going to do is, after you open the event, is triggering an event that calls upon your identifier and your character ID. So if you want to get these two values within DokusCore, first of all, you do not need to go to a server event, because TCTCC means trigger client to client callback. So you're going from a client file to another client file in a different plugin, and you request upon that information, and this will simply wait for the information to return before it continues. So you do not need to make an event, break the event to go to a server file. But in order to get your Steam identifier and your character ID, you just do TCTCC DokusCore sync, because we're going to the data sync plugin. We're getting some data and we're going to get the user data. That returns a lot of information, but with it, it returns your Steam ID and your character ID. From that moment on, you can do whatever you need to do with it, but the conversion is basically this. For those that already like to use the DokusCore API in order to grab data, for example, from the database, I have a quick example right here. So we're always going to do that with a TSC, which means a trigger server callback, and this is always done within a client file. The string that we're going to put in is DokusCore core dbget. Of course, the name of the framework. We're going to DokusCore plugin itself. We're going to grab some information from the database, so we're getting information from the database. And the last entry on this line is always corresponding to the name of the table that you're going to access in the database. So this can be characters right now, but can also be bank or users or whatever other table we have. This particular string needs a couple of entries. The first one is either all or user. With all, it grabs everything in that table. With user, it only grabs the rows that are connected to this user with this Steam ID. The second parameter can either be single or all. Single, then we are going to grab a certain character from this user, as the user can have multiple characters. If it's all, you guessed it, it grabs all the characters from this user. We're going to use single right now, and that requires two parameters. We need the Steam ID and the ID of the character that was created. It returns a table with two elements, exists and result. If exists is false, either the information within the string is false or there is no database entry for this, for the information that you have passed. If it does exist, it will return a result. Because we are only accessing a single table right now, we do data.result with the brackets, square brackets 1. That means we are immediately entering into table 1, as it only returns one table. And then we of course can see the result right here. If we go to the database quickly, I can show you what the results are. So it returns your Steam, your character ID, your group, which is basically if you're an admin or not, your character name, your gender, your nationality, your birthday, what's gonna be changed into age later, money, job names, codes, skins, clothing that will be made in the future. So that is basically what it returns if you request upon this string right here. So that is basically how you do that. It's very easy to get your plugins converted. So this was basically the long answer. Yes, it is possible to have your live server running on DokusCore, but it does require you to make some edits to the plugins that are not standalone to make sure they are grabbing the information from the right tables out of the database and so forth. So it does require you to do some extra work. But it is possible, yes. So now with any further ado, let's go to the version update 0.6.1. So the first thing on the list is the console itself. Whenever you open DokusCore, it gives you an introduction. So let's go to the console quickly, and this is basically what you will see. DokusCore logo will pop up, some of your server information, and then you will see the list of plugins that you have enabled. You will see whenever they were last updated, the current version that you are running, and the newest version that is out on the market. If everything is up to date, you'll see everything is up to date and some extra information that you can do in your console. Now I'm going to show you if it's not up to date. So I just restarted the server and I just added some files quickly, but this is then what you will see. DokusCore will pop up with this logo, of course, with its server information, and then you will see the plugins that are out of date. You will see them in red. You will see whenever they are updated. I just changed some files. I didn't actually updated it, otherwise everybody will see this in their console. And the current version that I'm running right now, and that there is a newer version. You will see it like this if one of your plugins is out of date. Of course, it says here outdated plugins found, and then it gives you the information on where you can grab the plugins, and of course the website updates page that you can see what are the updates to the plugins. That is basically how the console looks like. And there are some extra things that we have done with the console. You can see here that you can type DokusCore help or help. So if I would say help, I will get now a list of commands that I can give into the console. So let's say that I do DokusCore website, and then I want to go to the DokusCore website, so I'll type DokusCore. Now it gives me the website link to DokusCore. You can also, for example, type GitHub, and it will give the link to our GitHub. What you also can do is, if you have yours, because all the plugins are restartable, you don't really need to restart your entire server. You can keep your server running for a couple of days if you want to. So, but maybe you want to check for updates. So you do DokusCore update, and this will basically start checking all your plugins and the version numbers, and it gives you this list again that I just showed you. And if there is an update, you will of course be notified within this list that there is an update. So though on a running server, you can still check for updates. You do not need to restart the server in order to get update information. This is what we have done with the console. We briefly introduced a plugin into DokusCore that was called Safeguard. Safeguard was an anti-cheat, but it was also enforcing a global ban list for multi-offenders. So people that would only go to your server to mess things up and not do any kind of roleplay at all. Just like how people, for example, join 5M and then blow the shit out of your server and then leave again. If we would get people reported, then we would, with enough proof and enough reports, we would put them on the global ban list, and they wouldn't be able to join your server anymore. That did require, however, people to join the DokusCore Discord. And we talked to a couple of people, and they said that it might be a barrier for people to join your server, as they now had to be in 2 separate Discords. I can understand that, we can understand that, and therefore we have removed Safeguard from DokusCore. Safeguard will eventually return, but just as an anti-cheat, so there will not be the global ban list anymore within it that enforces people to be on our Discord. How we are going to release Safeguard as an anti-cheat later on is, for right now, I'm unsure. If I'm just going to put the code up on GitHub, I'm not sure how effective an anti-cheat is going to be if the cheaters themselves can look into the code. So it could just be that we're going to invent a way that you can prove yourself to be a server owner on a server that is running with people on it, so not something you just set up. We will then hand you the code that is unobfuscated, but you, of course, you will give you the advice to obfuscate the code before you run it in your server, because people can still via the debug console see into your client files, so they can still see into the code. So it's still advised to keep anti-cheats obfuscated, so that cheaters will not be able to just look into the code and bypass it. So Safeguard will return in the future. Exactly how, as I said, I don't know, but you will have the choice to use it, yes or not. Next on the list that we changed is the way you create your character, select your character, and spawn with your character. Before, you had a menu that was basically the Cubase menu, the HTML that we were using. You would just pick one out of the list, if it's empty or not, create your character or select it, and you will spawn at the Teleportation station, and from there you will open the skin menu and just create a skin. But now this is done like this. So we can choose male, either female. We have optimized the cam so it transitions nice and slowly. It's easy on the eyes. So let's say that I take this male. The skin will reset to this. Keep in mind that as long as you do not fill face, torso or legs in, your character stays invisible right now, because we have to fix that. But in this version you have to select your skin. So this is just a default skin, this is not you, this is an NPC. And let's say I'm going to select something. Now also you can see I'm changing the colors separately. This is because we have to filter out around 10,000 skin entries and make it so that the skin color that you have applies to all of these whatever you selected. That's going to be out in a future update. We don't see that as critical right now. So let's give it some eyes, some hair. And with the beard too, you have beards, you have mustaches, and you have beard stashes, what is a mustache and a beard together. Right now it just falls under the category beard. But later on we will filter this and put this in their own separate categories. So let's just take something right now. This same thing for body, the size and the weight is right now not applied to your character. Will be done in a future update. So let's make sure that I have a name, and I click on confirm. Whenever your character loads the first time, when the character spawns, it spawns in a stagecoach, and the stagecoach starts driving to Saint Denis. You can disable this cutscene in your config. You can set where it needs to start and where it needs to end, and how the character walks to the tailor, what you will see later. You can all set this in the config. Right now you do not hear any game sounds anymore. I had to turn that off because OBS was switching off my microphone when I do that. didn't want to take the separate audio track. But right now you would hear a song from Johnny Cash, Run Home, where you can set yourself to be enabled or disabled in the config, and you can also change the song if you like. The NPC will also talk to you at random. This is a little bit the environment that we want to introduce into DokusCore, because you have the environment around you, you have the NPCs, but you really don't interact with them, or they don't interact with you. That's something that we want to have in DokusCore. The NPC interaction gives you a little bit more of this roleplay experience. So you will sometimes, just like now, see that the NPC just casually talks to you while being in cutscenes like these. So let's wait for the stagecoach to arrive at the tailor. Well, it's basically around this corner. So it tells you that the tailor is on the right, and now he cracks a joke, but sometimes he will just say goodbye to you. You will get the controls back, so I can now just sit here. He will wait for me to step out. So whenever I step out, I go back into cinematic view. Stagecoach driver goes back onto the coach and drives away, and at the same time my character starts walking to the tailor. This is still automated. At least this is again automated, because for a moment you had controls. Now the character will just walk to the tailor and goes automatically again in cinematic view. The stagecoach itself, he will drive off to a set of coordinates and then despawn. I hate it when things are spawned and despawned right in front of your face. It's basically gameplay breaking, immersion breaking. So that's not something that I like to do. So the stagecoach is just driving away. We don't have a clothing plugin right now. That will be in the future. So after actually walking in and cinematic view ends, you should be fading out, fading in into a clothing menu. But that is for a future update. Now, the last thing on the list, that was the character selection screen. So let me show you how that works. For that, I need to restart the plugin quickly, and I'll be right back. So when you come to the server and you already have a character, it will walk in like this. First of all, it gives you a warning that you can only create one character per login. That is because right now, if you go to the skin creator a second time, the camera goes haywire. We are investigating that, and we'll be fixing that in a later update. But you can make a second character, just have to log out the server and come back in. But your character walks to the campsite, takes position, goes sit down. Takes a little bit for this menu to pop up. That is because we are waiting for the character to sit down and then to snap the camera angle that we need to have. So if I click now on this character, you will see that the camera transitions and snaps onto the character. This is the coordinates, the position that we needed, and that we can only get these coordinates whenever the character is sitting down. Otherwise the camera will be somewhere up in the air. So we can select the character and then look to the world. He will just fade out, fade in, and then the character spawns. So if you would have multiple characters, so let me quickly mix a couple of these characters into the database, and then I'll be right back with you. So I made now a couple of characters, and now you will have characters walking in from all different directions to your campsite, and they will all start to take position. And now we just have to wait for that menu to pop up. Once the menu popped up, we can now select between the characters. It's very dark right now, but yeah, this is how it would look if it's this weather. And again, of course, we can select the character and go back to the world. Here we go. So now standing at the jail, I quickly change the weather, because for the next thing on the character screen you can do look out, and this gives you a animated sky cam that takes around 17 seconds for it to go back to the camp. In this time that you see this sky cam, your characters are basically spawning in, the skin is set on the NPCs, then they walk to the campsite, they start sitting down, and the moment the camera basically stops, the menu pops in. So you don't have to wait and just on this view until the menu pops in. You basically have this animation. That is the next thing that I wanted to show. Something else that we have changed is whenever you teleport. So let's say that I will teleport to this location right here. I can then open the core menu and then say I want to teleport. Now we also have teleport to coords. You can fill in X and Y axis in. That will automatically be done. But we're going to choose teleport to marker. Normally you will see yourself be glitching under the ground and then going up. This time you just fade out and then this whole glitching under the ground is not shown. But whenever you did teleport, you will now at the bottom see that we have a cancel and an undo option. This is very handy for admins, because if an admin goes out of roleplay to help a person with a problem, then they will teleport to that person and they will do their things, but then they have to figure out like, where was I? Where were, like, I want to continue my roleplay, but I have to teleport back. That is basically what this does. If I hit E, I undo my teleport and I go back to the position that I was last at before I teleported. If I do left alt, I cancel it and I stay at this position. So let's say I do E. That brings me back to from where I teleported, what was right here, and I teleported up there. So basically that is new. Also is you can use these NPCs now to teleport, well, yeah, basically quick travel between locations. So this is from the jail to Saint Denis. So if I do the left alt, I get this message. Screen will fade out and then I will be transported to Saint Denis. Your character automatically walks off this boat, but I will also make cinematic later. And now you get the controls back. Right here, above here, where is he? NPC did not spawn. So okay, I have to fix this. Not sure why it didn't spawn. I think maybe he spawned behind the gate. I think could just be. Normally here there would be an NPC, and then I can, for example, I want to go to Guama. Let's say I want to go to Guama. Same thing happens again. I will start walking. This is animated, so the moment I get on the boat, the screen will fade out and then my position will be set to Guama. So now entering Guama. Also the sea is nicely fixed. Up there you can see something in the water. So let's go check it out. That is actually up here. I think to be around here. Let's teleport. Oh, still not far enough. And we slide down. There we go. So this time we cancel it because I don't need to teleport back. But you can have here, chilling around, whatever you want to do. We edited this to the map. It's a nice bar. Could be used as a gang bandit hideout. Then the other thing that we have edited in Guama is this right here. It's a very nice and detailed house. You could use it for something. As I said, it has a lot of details. It has two stories, and can be used in roleplay. I was thinking more like of a Guama as more like of a bandit hideout kind of stuff. A little bit like an island that has no rules. So if in the meantime I teleport back to Guama itself, the idea that we have for Guama is that here you can actually, with a couple of people or alone or whatever, basically do some kind of PvP battle. So people will be able to spawn here, get weapons, get ammo, and then they will be spawned over this map, and then you will be fighting each other, or you choose the game mode that you want to do surviving, and then you get waves of NPCs onto you to shoot at, or maybe you want to do some zombie surviving alone or with a couple. We can even introduce a global leaderboard and things like that, but that is the thing that we're thinking of, the idea that we're thinking of to do for Guama. But this travel agency right here brings you up and down from Guama to Saint Denis, and it also can, you think, bring you to Mexico, and later on also the casino boat, and it will bring you to jail, things like that, places that you cannot come very easily to, like for example Guama really needs a teleportation. Next up is time and weather. Before we had a time sync built in DokusCore, but we have opted for the plugin from Keybook, weather sync. So if you go to the admin menu and then the weather sync menu, we can choose here the date, the time, time scale, how quick it goes into this, how quick the time transitions in the server, what kind of weather it is, and wind, syncing delays between users and things like that. So it's now done via that plugin, and it will also be shipped inside the pre-built. The controls for controlling the time that was built into DokusCore we now have completely removed. Next up, if we go add to the map and we zoom out, we see here that we have an extra part of the map as it's Mexico, and you have a bridge here that you can cross it. But it's just bare land, there are no buildings on it. Maybe we can fix that later, but you have some map extension here, just like Walma, and gives you some extra space for your players to go to. Something that we also have changed is the looks of the inventory. We have gotten this nice SVG image right here that changed the bluish inventory that we had before to this. It's still the exact same inventory. We will look to something different in the future. For now, this is what we're going to stick with. Concentrate on different plugins first before we're going to switch back to the inventory itself. But the looks, eventually the inventory, we're going to opt for something different. But this is now how it looks. Now the stores also have been changed. Just to let you see, I have now 2 bottles of water in my inventory. The moment I walk into the store, the NPC will greet me, and this time it swears, but every time it is different. When you walk up to the counter, you can do manage, buy or sell. Managing is something that will be done in a future update, but yes, you can later on own the store and manage it. So if I open the buy menu, the NPC will say something to me, and then the menu opens. So I can now, for example, buy something here. Let's say I would buy an apple, and say confirm. I say 2, and then I get to see that I bought 2 apples. Now you see here, you can actually You cannot click on it yet, but it's the meaning later on to not have the entry bar, but you basically set the value like this in the UI. That has not been done yet. If I click here on switch, it basically switches from the inventory from the store to the inventory from my own character. So I'll have 2 apples here and 2 waters. If I would close it, the menu, then he will just say that, you know, was happy to help you. You will now see that I have water and a apple. So going back into the menu, I could also say that I want to sell something. Let's say I want to sell 1 apple. Now I sold 1 apple. And exit it again. He says, was pleasure business doing with you. And then we open the inventory, and now I have 2 water and 1 apple. The moment I walk away from the store, he will say goodbye and, you know, safe travels. And same thing, if you come back in, you will get a reply again. Now he says that he hopes that I step in with clean shoes. So that you have here a little bit of NPC interaction, new way of how the store is working. And now again for the teleport menu, I told you already that you can teleport to a certain set of chords. So if I click on this, on the chords, I can type in where I want to go to. So for me it would be this, then we do space, and then we do -1131.5 for example. I hit enter, and it will now bring me to the position that I have chosen. As said, the Z coordinates are figured out by the game itself, and whenever I want to, I can teleport back. So that's how you can teleport using an X set of chords. Something that we also have changed, and that are a couple of map edits, just like Mexico, we have restored the city, Limpany City. Normally this was all broken down, and now this is somewhat fully restored. So you can use this now again for your roleplay. With that also, we have introduced the gladiator arena. It's just basically an arena with walls that you can put people in and fight and things like that. You do have to teleport people to the stands, as there is, I don't think, a way of walking up, I'm not sure. But we have put it in there. You can take it out very easily if you want to. Now to the database, because usable items has been changed too. If we go to the item list, then we have a huge amount of information right here. Basically it says the item, well, this is the item name, the way we call it. So it's not the name that shows you in text, but basically what we call upon in the code. Then you have the name of the item itself, whatever it is, a consumable, a valuta, a material, a tool, instrument, a deployable, it could all be all kind of stuff. The descriptions. CTI means converting to item. So we have here, for example, a cigarette box. And if you open that cigarette box, it converts to cigarettes. And the convert amount is 25. So whenever you open one box, that converts to 25 cigarettes. You can have 5 of these cigarette boxes in your inventory. Whenever you use this cigarette box, there is no metabolism used, so metabolism stays null. You can also not place this object, so this stays null. There is no animation attached to it, so that stays null. But if we now, for example, take coffee. Coffee does not convert to anything, so this stays 0. But it does change the metabolism, so we set that to true. Then we change whatever we want to do with the metabolism. So you get -10 hunger, plus 20 thirst. So you will get hungry drinking coffee, but you will get less thirsty. Health is going up slightly, stamina is going up, and then you have the gold statuses, what are in seconds. So you get 20 seconds of health status, 10 seconds health inner, health outer, then stamina inner and stamina outer. It also has a animation and a prop. So that is what you fill in here. Basically the animation and then the prop and the position that the prop has been holding. Like I'm holding my coffee mug in my right hand. So that has all been done over the database. So next up we have the stores. I just emptied this table. There is no information in here. If we want to add items to the store to be sold, it is as followed. Let's say we want to have coffee. We go to the stores, we make an entry, fill in the item, and then click somewhere. The rest is filled in automatically. And there is of course no name, type, description, item data, stock, stores, and taxation set that will be set differently, but I'll show you that in a moment. We can take cigarettes, for example. Let's put that on the list too. And let's put something else on the list, let's say an apple. And we make here and we put an apple in. If we want to sync all the rest of the data up, so let's go to RedM. If you go to your admin menu, module sync, and then you click on sync store items. Whenever you have done that, and we go back to the database, we refresh it, you will now see that all the information has been inserted. The name, the type, description, and all these steps right here at the end. What we are not using right now, it's just there, as this is going to be used later on for the economy system. Whatever you need to worry about right now is the item, the name, as this is how it shows in the menus of the store, what kind of type it is, and of course its description. The rest you can ignore, and it will be, it's just already built, it's infrastructure, but we will expand on that later. But this is how you add items to the store very easily. Whenever you have synced up the modules, you can set your buy and sell prices, your limits, and whenever you have done that, of course, sync up the database again via the same button, and that will sync up the stores. As said before, there has a lot of things been changed between 0.4.6 and 0.6.1, and we cannot take all the stuff that we have changed into one video, because that would make the video very long, and this video is already pretty long by itself. So we're gonna leave it at that. Last thing that I do want to show, if you go to our website and you go to the main menu, you go to update and guidelines, it opens this page. You go again to the menu, click on update news, and then you can click here on the current version. This will give you all the little bits that we have changed inside DokusCore for 0.6.1, but you can also look back at 0.6.0 and 0.5.9. Versions older than this we don't have listed, because I started doing this from 0.5.9, but you can see whatever has been changed for these three last versions. Of course, every new version that is be released will also be on this list. Normally it will also hold a button with upcoming version, so it has current version, old version, and upcoming version. So in a couple days you will probably see update version 0.6.2, while 0.6.2 is not out yet, but you can then see what we already have done in 0.6.2. It will automatically be set to current version the moment it is out, but you will also see it in your console whenever DokusCore has been updated, as shown in the beginning of this video. If you need more information, you can always visit our Discord via discord.io/DokusCore. If you want to help us out, you can do this in a couple of different ways. First of all, like this video and subscribe to our channel. With 100 subscribers, we are getting a custom YouTube URL that is gonna help us out a lot. Also, if you would like to do, it's up to you, you can boost our Discord server. That would help us creating a banner and things like that, making it more unique. And of course, you help us the most with letting us know if you find a bug. So if you're using DokusCore and you find something that is off, that doesn't look right, please report that to us into the reports channel, and we will look at it as soon as possible and fix the issue. That will help us the most. I want to wish you guys and girls a great evening, midday or morning depending on your geographical location. And as always, enjoy this update and see ya until the next video.